So obviously another win, that's 5 in the match. But a word for Ryan Bowman as well, to get 2 in 2 as well. That's great work from him.
Yeah, I know. We're really pleased. As I said at the time, pleased for Ryan. He's had I would think probably a tough 5 or 6 months to the season. Really, I don't think his form has been as good as it's been in the last month or so in training. I think all credit to him, and everybody's pleased for him. And I think that sometimes people have things going on in their lives that no one ever knows about, and that can affect them. And I think probably that's a little bit perhaps where Ryan's been, and we're delighted that he's back and in form.
Yeah, how much does that say about his character, that he can turn it on if there are things going on, he still comes out and can perform?
Well, I didn't necessarily say there are things going on, but there could well be. So I think his character's always been good anyway, but I think what you can do sometimes in life, you can lose focus. And I think in the early part of the season, I think he'd lost that little bit of focus. But he's had it back for a little while now, and his performances of late when he's come on have been very, very good. So we're pleased for him. He's been part of one of the lads that I've brought in. When you think about what we paid for him, 80 grand or something like that, it's not bad for a striker in this league.
And Killian Phillips as well, since he's come in, I think it's 4 starts and 2 assists. So just a little bit about him, and have you been impressed with what he's done since he's come in?
Yeah, no, I have been impressed with Killian. I think that one thing Killian gives us in midfield that I don't think we've really had is that physical presence. He's a big old unit. You certainly wouldn't want to bump into him, or if you do bump into him, well, you can ask Tom Flanagan, because he bumped into him, I think, on about his first or second day in, and I didn't think that was a pleasant experience for Flano, and Flano's no shrinking violet. So he's a big unit, Killian, great lad, as with Streety. The boys that have come out of Crystal Palace, I've spoke about them before. I think that Paddy McCarthy does a good job down there with them, and Mark Bright comes to see him and Streety on a regular basis, whether it's home or away. So yeah, we've done very well out of Crystal Palace this year so far, and like I say, yeah, Killian's come in and he's fitted right in. He's a great lad. I thought his assist last week for Ryan Bowman was incredible. His touch, for such a big man, the deft touch to flick it up and flick it over the defender, and the rest was history. It was a great finish by Ryan.
And we've seen that the lads that have come in and the ones that have come in alone seem to have really bought into what you're trying to do as well. How much goes into trying to get everyone to sing from the same hymn sheet?
We haven't probably got long enough for that. There's a lot that goes into it. You've got to make sure, I've said before, coming together is only like the beginning, and keeping together is progress, and then working together is success. And what happens is keeping together, the middle bit, is quite often what trips groups up, because I don't necessarily accept you for what you are, and you don't necessarily accept me for what I am. And what I mean by that is, we'll all have faults, but what you have to do is look through the faults and look through the good in the group and in the person that you're sat next to, or the person you play next to. And quite often, as I've said before, that keeping together is what trips people up. And that's the one thing that these lads have done, from the coming together at the beginning of the season, going away in pre-season. I thought that was so important. The trip that we had out to Spain, I thought that was a real fantastic bonding exercise. And the keeping together is about working hard when you're not in the team, and I mean on the field and off the field, in and around the training ground, being giving towards the group, because 9 out of 10 then when you come in, everybody will try and make it so good for you when you come in, because you've been so good when you've been out of the group. And we're really lucky with that. We have that. And whilst someone may be sad if they're left out of the team one week, the minute kick-off comes, then they drop all their egos and fight for each other.
And how much of that comes down to having the right players at the club? Obviously, brilliant to have talented players, but to have the right characters, and when you're looking at someone...
Always important. always important. Invariably, you'll see teams who struggle invariably haven't got the right dressing room, and getting the right dressing room together can take you a long way. And 9 out of 10 you'll see when managers leave clubs or they get sacked or whatever, the chances are the dressing room's not right. Of course, on occasions the manager isn't right in that moment, but I think if you've got a good dressing room, that's the key to any successful team.
Quick question on Matt Pennington. How's he? I know he was a bit groggy last week after.
Better, but we just need to see, but better.
Good. And obviously you adapted to that back three last week, and the players obviously can adapt, and it showed. They kept a clean sheet, so they obviously work hard on that.
Yeah, well, we do. Yeah, I mean, we work on all aspects really. We work hard at keeping the ball out the back of the net, and we work hard at trying to put it in the back of their net. That's as simplistic as it sounds. There's a lot more that goes into it than what I've said. But yeah, I mean, they've been pretty settled this season, and they work incredibly hard for each other, whether it's for or against, in possession, out of possession. So it's pretty much, we work on the fundamentals of the game every week. We'll do that. It will just be in what moment or whether we've got time on the training ground.
And how much work goes into kind of preparing for the unknown, or if someone gets sent off, if Matt Pennington, who's been really important, can't play?
We always discuss the what ifs. There's a lot of what ifs. It's not what if that, it's what if we're 1-0 down, what if we're 1-0 up, what if we go down to 10 men. There's always a lot of what ifs. So the what ifs I'll always have probably in the back of my head anyway.
And then obviously finally Port Vale this weekend is a short trip, and I think they've sold a lot of home tickets as well, so that'd be great to be backed by a big crowd.
They've sold a lot of...
No, you've sold a lot of home tickets.
Okay, I don't know how many we've sold, other than I know that they'll have that end again and it'll probably be sold out, which I don't like that at all at any football club really. I'd rather them be over on a side out of the way and us have both ends. But it is what it is. So I know they'll have a good back-in, but if they've only got one end, we need our three sides. It's a very difficult game when you go to Port Vale. I watched them the other night, and it was a very hostile environment for Accrington Stanley, on all parts of the ground, and their supporters get really, really behind the team, and we need ours to do that this week. We need ours to cheer every tackle, every throw-in, everything that goes on. So, yeah, I mean, if they've got one end and we've got three sides, then hopefully we'll be very, very vocal.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.